Hello, good evening, everyone. How are you? I hope you guys are doing well. I just sat down, so hopefully you can see me and hear me. I probably am a little away from the mic. Let's see. I'm gonna bring the mic forward a little bit like that. Hopefully that works. So hopefully you guys are doing well. Good evening. I am your humble host, Sound Giver, here on the Monday Night Muse Show. I don't see any views on StreamYard, but let's see how YouTube is handling it. All right, sounds pretty good from my end, but I can always use your audio input on your end. See how it sounds with the device. I suspect this is going to be a short stream. I don't really have much to talk about. I just want to talk about this straw man argument that I have seen time and time again in recent days for really one particular thing, and that is being critical or offering objective critique on a certain piece of art or film or whatnot. And maybe if you guys have any ideas of what other straw man arguments you've been seeing in recent days, weeks, or this last year, that'd be pretty fun. But I'm just going to talk about one thing in particular, and then maybe we can have a casual chat. And then I think that should be it for the stream tonight. Not much today, but before we get started, let's go ahead and welcome the chat. We did have Dr. Y first, and he was singing "Violin Had a Brain" or that song from Scarecrow and his bit on The Wizard of Oz. So I thought that was funny. But we of course have the wonderful, handsome intellect, my handsome intellect or intellectual. Yeah, that's how you say it. Ready for your wisdom, pretty lady. Well, thank you. I hope so. It's going to be, whatever wisdom it may be, it's going to be pretty brief. So we'll see. And Big Al Presents says, have a great stream, Sound Engraver. We see so many Godzilla pictures now on the Facebook group page. That was expected. After the props video on SuperCollider. Yeah, that was to be expected. And Horizon Talker, which is also known as Back to the Drawing Board. Hello, the chat. And I will be finding some time to get through your videos. I'm really glad that you are producing those videos. That's great. And if I understand Horizon Talker, it's on this channel, correct? It's not Back to the Drawing Board. I take it. And then it's Evie. I haven't seen Evie in a while, but I did see your comments on my last stream. Glad you can make it. And Wolf10 for, oh, hey there, Sound Engraver. And it's Owen Lister. Good evening, everyone. I saw the illustrations, Owen, on your cyberpunk take on Beetle Blaze, and I I sort of suspected. By the way, I'm hearing a little bit of crackling through my headphones. If you guys are hearing anything on your end, just let me know. Maybe it's just haven't had enough water today. Maybe I'm just having a dry mouth or something. But anyway, Owen, yeah, that it's interesting that those characters, when you were creating that concept art, I was kind of picturing a cyberpunk mood anyway. But from one Christian to another, can you do cyberpunk that has no decadence? That would be awesome. That would be new. That would be different. Just do something cyberpunk that doesn't have any decadence. But that's just a suggestion. And we've got Netter's Network. Hi, sweetie. Hello, lovely Netter. I hope you and Troy are doing well. And we do have Dr. Y again. We await your words of wisdom, O Lady of Sonic Carving. That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's how Sound Engraver came to be, really, because I work with sound experimentation. So I want to create attractive sounds that really do have kind of that visceral effect, like you could almost see or understand or taste the soundscapes. It's kind of sounds a little strange, but I had ASMR before I knew there was such a thing. It's like, oh, a lot of people have this. And I'm not talking about like the euphoric tingling, although that could be an aspect of it, but just a visual, because I see sound, not physically, but in my mind's eye, I see sound and soundscapes like painting and engraving and carving and sculpting and all that good stuff. So I thought, yeah, well, since I had such a strong mind's eye, I will just I love sound, and we'll just call it sound engraving or sound engraver. Oop, chat has jumped down. I do see Aged Boomer, cool, and Jedi Master Zetopia. Very good. Speaking of which, Aged Boomer being present reminds me. I'll go ahead and announce it. I'm planning on doing another, the start of the Donkey Kong series video. I would like to have a video published probably this Saturday, so I'll try to record it this Wednesday. I think I'll probably record 2 videos for my 2. My sound experimentation and also this extra video. It's probably going to be my Wednesday night project after teaching. So hopefully you'll have something for Nintendo, for Super Nintendo, this coming Saturday. Nander says, I finally got the time right on this. I keep thinking it's 9 p.m. Central, but it's 8:30 p.m. Central. Yeah, I have it on the half hour. I know that's weird. I know people usually start right on the hour. I guess I could start right on the hour, but 9 always seems just a little bit too early for me because I finish teaching. Well, it's 7, but I like to wash up and have dinner and stuff like that and relax. But then 10 just seems a little too late for me. I think it's because when I wrap it up, I still have a lot of extra time to work on tasks or writing or something like that, and I do like that. So 9:30 is kind of that nice starter time. And Samuel Proctor, watching the despecialized Empire Strikes Back while listening to Sound Engraver equals a relaxing night. That's pretty interesting. I like that. It's kind of a juxtaposition, but I can go with that. Yeah, speaking of which, the prof has something extra special for me on Valentine's Day that has to do with Star Wars. It's awesome. And prof, if you want to brag, you're more than welcome to brag on the chat, but I'm looking forward to that Valentine's weekend. All right. He is handsome. Oh, and he's better looking live, by the way. He's handsome on screen, but he's much better looking live. So, sorry everyone. So anyway. Oh, Owen Lister says that Kong versus Godzilla got me so super hyped. Yeah, the prof had a pretty interesting take on, his assessment from what he can from the trailer. The Kong versus Godzilla. And how maybe it's Kong who is our aspirational hero of the decade. Maybe it's that, and I think that's fine. I think we're due some more aspirational heroes, and man or beast, it can be anyone. All right, so I'll go through the chat for a couple more minutes, and then I've got some very quick notes. I really should do this as an impromptu, but I'll just do my notes and we'll see. Daniel Craig's here. And oh, good. I'm not hearing any crackling. It could just be my, I wonder if these are quite old, these headphones. I'm wondering if I'm just kind of hearing the stretching of the headphones. Could be that. Owen Lister says, yeah, when it came to Beetle Blaze, I wanted to make an original world, but I finally realized that cyberpunk would be very helpful for my story. Also, what does decadence mean? So decadence is it's the portrayal of lewd activity and licentiousness and promiscuity. I think that's how you say that word. So anything that is it could be related to very suggestive stuff, lewd, lust, all that stuff. That's probably not going to be the best thing to do to produce as a Christian, of course. People could call us prudes. That's okay. But cyberpunk, really, because of the dystopian factor, is a time when you're in a dystopian world. It's usually depicted in a morally depraved world where everything is abhorrent. People turn to vices. People turn to their most natural animalistic instincts. And so because of that setting, a lot of authors take great liberty to showing the decadence, or the comic book writers or whatever. So I wonder if you could do cyberpunk with kind of the noir aspect, but without the decadence. That's probably how I would approach it. Well, that's okay, Daniel Craig, because I've never called any person like handsome unless I was with that person. Unless it's like an actor, but I don't really follow celebrities and all that. Okay, so let's talk about, we're about 11 minutes in. Let's talk about this straw man argument that has crept up among us. It is lurking in the midst, or it's lurking in the woods. It's just lurking around, and I have seen it time and time again. And you want to know what that straw man argument is? It is, not everything has to be perfect. So let's give it some context. When you see a critique of something, a film, a comic, a book, particularly a film, a comic, a book, a television show that people like very much and are entertained by, and people take pleasure in, well, when that is criticized with objective criticism or objective concern, the argument I see as an attack is the straw man argument. Not everything has to be perfect. So let's go through my notes. They're very short today, but let's talk about the problem of this straw man argument. When you like a show and you see someone criticize that show, and then whether it's you making this argument or someone else on your behalf saying, well, not everything has to be perfect. First of all, no one's saying it has to be perfect. But let's add some logic to it. So you might find, like, in a comment section or on social media, this straw man argument, not everything has to be perfect. This usually comes after a critique of something that they like. So this is a weak argument against a stronger critique of something that this person likes. So let's try to break it down a little bit. Straw man argument is always a weak argument when they can't defeat the opponent's critique. Always remember that. Not everything has to be perfect is a rather lazy response, because most sensible people understand that not only not everything has to be perfect, nothing is perfect. Outside of God, nothing is perfect. Even masterpieces aren't perfect. So it's quite invalid. It is invalid to say nothing has to be perfect, because no one's really looking for perfection in their critique of a piece of art. If they're objective and if they're reasonable, if they're using logic in their critique, they're not seeking perfection. I think the function of this argument, it is a straw man argument. We'll just call it straw man. I think the function of the straw man is to reduce the person criticizing to a disgruntled perfectionist. So if you see someone criticizing a piece of art, the person who says not everything has to be perfect usually paints that person as disgruntled or cynical, or they're like, oh, they're just expecting everything to be perfect. They can't be satisfied. They can never be satisfied. And that's not true. That's actually quite unfair. It's an unfair play, because the person offering the critique not only may not be a perfectionist, they're most likely going to understand that good art isn't perfect. So just want to be sure that no comments are on the screen. Good. All right. Because my notes are right in front of me. So we all know that perfection is an impossibility unless you're referring to God. So everything being perfect is also an impossibility. So when you say not everything has to be perfect, no one's saying everything has to be perfect anyway. Now, if you're countering a person with this straw man argument and they say, well, I'm just exaggerating, this is just a hyperbole, I'm not really saying perfect, well, I would ask then, what are you saying? Are you saying then not everything has to be excellent? Because anything short of perfection is at least excellent or of very good standard. So what are you saying? Are you saying, well, not everything has to be excellent? Well, that straw man argument is actually unnecessary because everything being excellent in the whole wide world is also an impossibility. So it's unnecessary to say even that. I think this particular straw man is an admission to saying, well, I don't like you criticizing what I like. Therefore, you shall not criticize what I like. That it's an admittance. It's an admission of being disgruntled yourself for seeing something that you like criticized. Critical thinking should be encouraged. I'm a fan of critical thinking, and an objective critique on art is also encouraged for the sake of preserving the good, the true, and the beautiful. It's not to say every artwork will uphold that. It's not to say every piece of artwork needs to. But when we're in a society where people are just churning up and producing subpar or average, and when we don't see excellence on a regular basis, or at least on the same level of subpar art, well, yeah, we should have critical assessment. We should think critically. We should offer our critique and our concern on art. It doesn't mean we dislike that piece of art. It doesn't mean we can't see the value of it entertaining other people. But while we're not attacking those people being entertained by pieces of art, we're also asking that people not be so forward with us saying, well, you're just a perfectionist. You're just looking for everything to be perfect. That is not true. So we have to call that out. Now, remember, any critique or most critique that at least I've seen among all these YouTube channels that I see, I put on the replay or I put in chat, or if I'm involved in chat, all these people who offer objective critique on things, they're not criticizing entertainment. They're not criticizing against entertainment. They're criticizing art. Art has a different function from entertainment. The function of entertainment is to entertain, and the function of art is to serve in the way of entertainment, yes, but that's not the only way. Entertainment is not the only thing or purpose of art. Art has a higher purpose than entertainment, and so critical assessment is warranted. So in closing, my thoughts, I kind of want to set that phrase for you again, just kind of lay it out. Not everything has to be perfect. Okay, so on that part, not everything has to be perfect. Are we then settling for everything being average? And those are my closing thoughts. That's all the notes I have for that. Hopefully that made sense. It's kind of like a whirlwind of typing notes, but I have seen it way too much. When I see something more than twice, it's a pattern. It's a pattern because the language, especially in the way of social media, language gets picked up instantly. I mean, just instantaneously. And if one person says it, then it's just a chain reaction. And then you start seeing these, straw man arguments all over the place. And so I want to shut that down and say, no, you're right. Not everything has to be perfect. It's actually unnecessary for that argument to even be said at all. So anyway, that's my saucy sound engraver or sassy sound engraver take on that straw man argument. If you guys have any other straw man arguments that you've seen or have any ideas about this one here, that'd be cool. We can talk it up. We can talk it up on the chat. Speaking of chat, Prof says, "Eat your heart out, chat." I think the Prof is kind of cute when he's confident like that. Uh, so let's see. Prof is a celebrity. I mean, well, I have a theory on celebrities. Okay, so here is what I think people think of celebrities. At least I think of celebrities. You say the prof is a celebrity, and I think he is in this community. And I remember when I was first asked to join him for some musical analysis on one of the rewatches. I thought, oh, that is so cool. I feel so honored. This is great because I sort of at that point I did see him kind of as a celebrity, at least among people I watch on YouTube. The handful of channels that I watch on YouTube, and he's known, he's mentioned, he's brought up from time to time, or his videos are viewed, sometimes viewed a lot, especially his recent take on I think it was his recent Batman one, and then also the Mary Sue heroine. So he's well known. But I realized also with celebrities, the reason why you kind of think of people as celebrities is maybe not by the numbers. So he's a substantial channel, but by no means not a famous channel. I think it has to do with frequency. I think if you listen to someone's podcast long enough, or you listen to a radio show long enough, or you hear certain people every day, it's part of your work day, it's part of your work week, even if they have a rather small following, to you, they are celebrities because of the frequency. You refer to them constantly, time and time again, even if the rest of the world doesn't know them. They kind of are the celebrities to you. It was something I thought about a while ago. So even if you don't have a huge following, if people, let's say you have 100 people who listen to you every day, well, those 100 people, especially if you mention them or refer to them, they're going to think, yeah, wow, they know me, because it's more that frequency. I've made this person's podcast a part of my routine, or I've made this person's radio show or channel as a part of my routine. So yeah, I could see where that idea of the professor being a celebrity is there. But anyway, we're all fawning over the professor tonight. Oh, dude. Yeah, Frogger. Yeah, I'll try to remember that. What console is Frogger? Isn't it well, I know it's like an arcade game, but what console did it finally reach? I don't know that one. Now, first of all, I'm doing all Super Nintendo. Is Frogger found in Super Nintendo? I never had it myself, but yeah, I can check out Frogger. It has to be objectively good, though. I remember just loving that game, but it has to be objectively good as a soundtrack. But I will consider that suggestion. Wolf 10 says, a 60'8" being an aspirational hero. I'm okay with it, by the by. It's a sign that modern writing and artistry is slipping up. I find it funny. I find it humorous. I mean, it's on the writers for not. Well, I mean, they not only not write aspirational heroes, they just totally chuck and deconstruct the aspirational heroes that are here. So it's like, okay, we'll go for the ape. Well, we need someone. Samuel Proctor says, being prude is something that's become more and more reasonable. Well, I mean, if you think about it, not getting too descriptive, but if you follow your, kind of primitive nature, kind of like the animalistic tendencies and following vice, well, that's a natural thing. That's a carnal thing. It actually takes reason and logic and an objective measure of discipline to actually abstain from certain things. Dr. Y says the professor's ego has been successfully stroked. But he's not. He feigns egotism. That's just part of his shtick. I want to be dating an actual egotistic character. Well, there you go. Owen says, "Oh, okay. Don't worry. There won't be any sex scenes. It's in my comic. Maybe mention of it. But the closest thing you'll get to is hand holding and maybe a kiss. Yeah, that's see, and I think people can be fine. I don't think you need particular edge with that, especially if it's quite oversaturated in my opinion as far as books and television shows. I think that Sound Engraver's compliments are starting to get to the professor's head. And then to us, or Netter says to Professor says, just wait till you've been together as long as me and Troy. There's nothing like being with your best friend every day. Lately, we've been missing the distance. It's been rough. I thought I'd be fine. I thought I'd be fine with a distant relationship. And then it's like, yeah, this isn't that great. Wolf 10 says, any person saying not everything has to be perfect has never met a perfectionist such as I. They would crumble at my weight. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are some, maybe one or two people out there that would really want everything just to be just right. But, I would say I can think of no better example right now than Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. It doesn't adapt everything. It changes things. And I could understand where Tolkien, they used to call, I had heard the phrase Tolkien purists, or people who just really love those books, could whine and complain about things not being included or things being taken out, or, Arwen's, screen time is too much, or, different things like that. But for all that may have lacked, the heart and the spirit behind those films, I mean, there's just no denying that those films, that version of those stories will hold up for a long time, for many, many decades, because the heart and the spirit was behind it. And they did very well for what they could do as a screen adaptation. Okay, so it looks like Evie has another strong man argument. Well, is it a strong man? Or not strong man, straw man. The argument makes me think of it's fiction. It doesn't have to be realistic when referring to something like the way gravity works in a movie or something. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. There was actually I forgot the swordsman. I forgot his name. He was, I think, in the Darth Vader suit. Wait a sec. Didn't he just recently pass? Maybe I'm thinking of another swordsman. But there was a swordsman who trained the stunt people, the stunt workers for the Helm's Deep scene. And he was collaborating with some black belt martial artists. And one black belt said, I wish I knew the man's name. This really wouldn't work in a real life situation, like regarding a choreography fight scene. And then the swordsman said, but this is the movies, you have to add a little bit of that movie magic. So yeah, you have to make it as real as possible. Like, okay, make sure this is definitely part of that movie magic, but also, okay, I understand that this could also happen in real life. There's that beautiful blend between movie making and real life. Dr. Y says, is the term straw man prejudice against scarecrows? I always think of scarecrows. I always think of a scarecrow when I hear that phrase. Have people used this straw man argument on you? At least not directly to me. I don't. I had that Ahsoka Tano video, but I didn't have that as an argument against me. I bet that the Siege of Mandalore, because actually, you know what? I'm gonna probably this spring I'm gonna come out with another video on the terribly flawed writing of the Siege of Mandalorian. I'm gonna probably release it on the year anniversary, which I think is in April or May. I can't remember what month it was released. Oh, the final 4 episodes of that arc, and I've just got so many notes. I've got probably over 4 dozen points about the terribly flawed writing. Now the thing is, it might sound like I'm nitpicking on this critique that I'm about to give sometime this spring, but the problem is a lot of bullet points that I've made has grossly contradicted characters, arcs, character motives, and motives of similar characters. It just hasn't worked. That the Siege of Mandalore, beautiful visuals, wonderful sound design. The music is wonderful, even though it's not Star Wars. It's beautiful electronic music, just gorgeous music. Kevin Kiner is a master at doing what he does. It's just that electronic score was not Star Wars at all. Apart from that, it looked good. The character design looked great. It was wonderful, but the writing, it was like 7% of 100. So I have a feeling if that's the case, someone who really likes the Siege of Mandalore might use that argument against me. Evie says, the not realistic argument is especially funny when said by someone who complains about female armor not being practical in games and movies. Yeah. I've come to the point where I do not care what your position is, but please, for the love of sanity, please be consistent with your arguments. Please be consistent. You could be totally against what I say or believe. I might not agree with you, but if you just remain consistent with your arguments, or if you have a change of heart, then make the change and be consistent with that. But I don't care for people making a claim and then having a problem with another thing and making a completely opposite claim. Yes. That is true. Well then, yeah, I mean, and actually even more than that is people are getting way too realistic with their fiction, meaning, we have this problem of representation. Unfortunately for people just do not think things through when it comes to representation of characters. The first thing is really not necessary. If you love the story, it doesn't matter what age you are, what gender you are. If you love a story and you love those characters, it just doesn't matter what they look like. I think I may have mentioned this on stream, but I had taught this 5-year-old, really very bright African American boy, so he's a boy, right? And he just loved Frozen. Like, he could not stop talking about Frozen. He told me to play Let It Go. And I'm like, I can't do that. Because I don't like the music. Yes, I say that to 5-year-olds. I'm like, I think it's a terrible song. No, I don't. I don't think I ever played it, though, in front of him, because I don't think I know the song really that well. But it's like, do the main characters look like him? Are they his age? And part of his demographics? No. but and maybe he'll outgrow into, and into liking something else. Maybe he'll get into, Power Rangers if they're still around, or Star Wars or something like that. So maybe he'll outgrow Frozen as he gets older. But it's like he just liked the story. He liked the animation. He's like, it's so cool looking, And he was as boy as they come too, and I speak that respectfully. I mean, he was all about sports and stuff like that. He loved action figures. He just didn't really like the violin. but so representation actually, in some cases, is actually quite unnecessary, because people just love good stories, or if they think something is awe-inspiring, they don't care what it looks like or who's in it. They love it. The second thing, the second problem with representation is people are not considering actual mythology of different parts of the world. So let's say it's let's say you want a hero story, or a story of a heroine who is Peruvian. Okay, cool. Well, rather than replace a character and just make them from, like, come out of Peru or whatever, go to some mythology, go to stories, go to archives, go to libraries, and you'll find a treasure trove of mythology that has been ignored and neglected and not adapted to film or comics or whatever. So anyway, I don't know where I went. I went on a rant there, but yeah, the realism. It's like we have to make people resonate with these characters, so we have to make them look like these characters. I think there was a recent. I don't play the games. I don't really know anything about Dungeons and Dragons, but wasn't there there was a recent player option where you were were you quadriplegic or wheelchair bound or something like that? And if it works with the story, it works with the story. I mean, we've got great characters like the Oracle, who is bound to a wheelchair. We've got great ideas for people with disabilities, but in kind of an escapist setting, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know if that's necessary. I mean, not to take it so lightly, but when you're playing a game, you're sitting down. You're not battling physically anyway. Anyway, so that's a sound engraver rant. Oh, and Lister says, I do enjoy some not so perfect pieces of art, but I acknowledge serious flaws that prevents that piece of art from being okay to being a masterpiece. Yeah, I mean, even masterpieces have flaws. The person who cares about it being perfect is a child. Now, I'm not saying an adult who acts like a child. I'm actually talking about children. My students, one thing that gets them so scared about performance and performing in front of people is they're deathly afraid of making a mistake. I've made mistakes so much as a violinist. Now I've mastered my instrument, but mistakes will happen. They just will. But that doesn't mean, just because it's flawed and that there are some mistakes in the performance, doesn't mean it's not an admirable performance. I remember seeing this one woman, and she had just the most beautiful expression and technique. It was just absolutely gorgeous. There was one part where she totally missed a note. It was totally out of tune, but she just she kind of just nudged that note in very expressively, with a lot of musicianship, a great deal of musicianship. And it was a phenomenal performance, in spite of the telling mistake that no doubt everyone heard. But would I knock it as being a subpar performance? Absolutely not. So even masterpieces or master performances can have mistakes, can have flaws. So that's That's where I would say. And I've said this again and again, and forgive me for repeating myself, but you can like subpar art and you can dislike masterpieces. The quality of art is not dependent to how you feel about that art, whether you like it or don't like it. So it shouldn't even insult you if there's a critique on a piece of art that you like. That's where I don't get the straw man is the person probably feels like they're being attacked, like they're being bullied, like, why are you criticizing my television show? I had a roommate and she was great, but I remember kind of poking fun of her for watching a television show. I remember my mom, we were talking on the phone and she's like, don't do that. Don't make fun of people for liking a television show. It's like a sport. They're very territorial. It's instinctive. So I remembered that. I remember respecting, people for having their different tastes and preferences. And I wasn't malicious about it. I was just teasing her, but she got a little defensive. And so I think people get defensive when there actually is an educated critique on something they like. But it shouldn't be an insult, because what you like does not better or worsen that art. I wish people could grasp that. I feel like that's a lost argument. You do not better the art because you like it more. You don't worsen the art because you like it less. And so therefore, any critique on a piece of art that you do like is not an attack on you. Any critique on my music that I produce or my stories that I write, it's not an attack on my personhood. It's not an attack on me. It certainly shouldn't be an attack on my ego. I mean, unless the person really wants to strip me down or tear me down, I should say. It's just art that I produced, and if it's not to their liking, or if they call out something, a mistake that I had made, then that's on the art. It's on me who produced that art. But again, that person's likely not attacking me as a person. So the chat jumped again, guys. I have to scroll all the way back up. Professor Geek says, well said, Sound Engraver. Another one of my favorites is, well, it's better than insert their own favorite franchise to critique, as though their favorite can't be criticized if something worse exists. That's another thing too, is I have heard that, it's better than, or well, at least it's not. There, a piece of art or a piece of work is not invulnerable just because everything around it is subpar. Even if it's better than everything around it that's subpar or mediocre, it's still warranted the critique. One of our complaints as a community is the lack of critical thinking, where we're just kind of taking things in like a hive mind, or just kind of like a drone. We're just taking it in like a drone, kind of like this robotic drone, this kind of stream of mainstream thought and narrative. And our community has been active and proactive in being critical and thinking for ourselves. And I think that's very important. So if there's someone in a comment, let's say someone comments on the prof's video and he doesn't know the prof, or she doesn't know the prof that well. Well, part of the community is, no, we are actively thinking for ourselves, and we're going to call out different things. And so if they make that straw man, like, well, you're saying this, what are you suggesting? It has to be perfect, or, well, at least it's not this. That's not the point. We don't, at least talking with the professor, in my experience, and myself included, it's the same way with me. I mean, it's like we actually don't really regard the straw man argument, because it's meant, actually, I think there's, what does Apple Dictionary say about straw man? They're actually, let me read the definition. It says, straw man, noun, an intentionally, listen to that, an intentionally misrepresented proposition that is set up because it's easier to defeat than an opponent's real argument. And maybe it's easier to defeat. That's a little confusing, but what they're saying is it's easier than to come up with your own objective, critical opposition. So I tend to disregard those arguments altogether. Oh, Netter, yeah, that's my chair. My chair's moaning. I have this office chair, which I probably can take a screw and tighten it, but that's that's the back of my chair. I know it's a nuisance. I'm starting to hear the squeak. Not sure if it's your headset or your chair. Yeah, that's definitely my chair. It just has its opinion. Oh, now that it knows it's being listened to, it's stopped. It silenced itself. Ooh, sassy. Snap. I don't know. I think that's what you mean, right? Perfect? Thing on my chest if you think I'm perfect. I like your Wizard of Oz reference. Owen Lister says, for example, I recently watched Miss. Let me read this better. For example, I recently watched Mission Impossible 2 last night. While I perfectly had a lot of fun, it is nowhere near as good or better as the first one. Mission Impossible 2 is a fun popcorn movie. Now, there's nothing wrong with entertainment. There's nothing wrong with entertainment. But let's say it's just entertainment. We've had this discussion on the community before. If you only seek entertainment as the value, as the main value, then that's what you seek, and that's good. That's who you are, and that's what you do. That's what you like. But because of that, there's no grounds, there's no reason for you to feel insulted if someone else is making a stance, a critical stance or critique against that thing which you enjoy as entertainment. Because the function of entertainment is not the function of art. The function of entertainment is to entertain. The function of art can be entertainment, but it has a higher purpose than only serving as entertainment. Yes, it can be very entertaining. Captain America, for instance, it's a wonderfully entertaining film, but it's also a very good piece of work. It's a very good film. For the structure of the film, the writing, the story, the pacing, the music, the cinematography, the color grading, all of it, the character development, all of that. So it can be entertainment, but that's not the end all be all. But if it's just entertainment you want, then the attack or critique on that piece of work is something outside the sphere of entertainment. It's not meant to attack the piece as entertainment. It's not like the person offering the critique is saying, this is a bad piece of entertainment. Like, this is not serving the function of entertaining you. I'm going to criticize this. You're really not. Like, if someone started telling you, you're not entertained by this. Yeah, okay, then you can get defensive and counter them with another argument. But it's really people offering critiques on pieces of art is actually a critique on art. It's not the critique on entertainment or the function of entertainment. My chat is kind of jumping around. Hopefully I'm not skipping comments. Owen Lister says, I guess one straw man argument that I'm not a fan of is when someone says you have bad taste in response to another straw man argument. Well, I liked it. I mean, Yeah, bad taste. Let's see. That I would say that is a harder one to come by. I haven't seen that one as much. Um, I'd have to think about that a little bit more deeply. Someone having good tastes or bad tastes, because there is an objective B-rated film, or you know, I was about to say award-winning film, but awards don't matter anymore. They haven't mattered in a while. But you know what I mean. Like there is a masterfully done film, or there's high art, and there's also B-rated horror films like Zombievers. Although I'm not recommending that movie because I had a project manager recommend that movie, but he's like, I don't think it's for you, Michelle. And he told me why. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that would be for me either. We are all lucky that Professor Geek has allowed us in his entourage. But the thing is, you and he have known each other before he started his channel, so it's like, you're seeing this from a friend's point of view, like, oh, I do like now that I am dating the professor, we were friends before, of course, but it's like he's my buddy, he's my companion. Like, we like all the same stuff, give or take Ernest, but we like everything else. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I've heard this one for Star Wars. So when there's been backlash on suggestive, or questionable, I should say, content regarding it being kid appropriate, people will say, on Star Wars. Okay, so on Star Wars, for instance, if there's a piece of criticism that wants to uphold Star Wars as a piece of art, then their naysayers will say it's just for kids. But then when there's questionable, obviously adult innuendos in a given piece of Star Wars content, whereas, oh, it's just for kids, don't you know it's just for kids, but this is made for kids, so you don't need to criticize it. But it's for young adults. Now, here's the thing. He-Man was made for kids, and it's good. It's got the moral of the story. It acts like a fairy tale. There's it's episodic. There's a plot. There's a problem to fix. There's great characters. There's great dialogue. I had recently with the prof saw, man, one episode. It was Skeletor and a long, not long lost, but like another villain, kind of like a colleague he hadn't seen in years. It's been a long time, and it's these two villains who are talking about conquests and people they have as their allies and stuff like that. And this discussion between two villains for a kid show lasted, I gotta time it, but I feel like it lasted for about a minute and a half or 2 minutes. Just these two villains discussing something for 2 minutes on a kid show. I'm like, this is great. There was one time where He-Man encountered the epitome of darkness in the form of a flame, and this kind of gross flame. And the writing was really good. The writing was really good because the animators and the producers knew the intelligence of those kids, and maybe a lot of it went over the kids' head, over their heads, but it was still very good. It was still very good. I do not like poorly written kid shows. I think that's an insult to kids. It's certainly an insult to parents who also watch with their kids. I like cartoons or shows that are very much for the whole age gamut, where kids can enjoy it, but also adults can also enjoy it. Oh, Atari. Is that Frogger? I was just thinking of Atari. Oh, okay. Yeah, Atari. I don't know if I know any games in Atari. I know this is a song, but I'm not getting the melody in my head. Okay, so Frogger was re-released for SNES and Sega Genesis in 1998. Cool. Yeah, not that's another misstep that these big name industries are missing, or are it's a misstep that they're actually executing. And you say I'm not you say I'm comfortable with knowing that my work is not for everyone. And that's just true, you know. Um, your art's not going to be for everyone. My music's not going to be for everyone. In fact, when people say they've bought my music, or they've listened to my music, I'm like, really? You like that stuff? I didn't, I thought you'd be more into bluegrass or um, metal or something like that, heavy metal. But so it does come to be a delight, a surprise and a delight to find that people actually do enjoy my work. But it's a style. It's a specific style that I am not expecting everyone to enjoy and to use. And Star Wars, we're going to go back to Star Wars, especially with the recent news of like the High Republic and all that stuff. By the way, guys, I couldn't care less about the alleged civil war going on. I have no interest in that. When people talk about the civil war going on in Lucasfilm with Kathleen Kennedy and Favreau, it's no longer about Star Wars. No one cares about Star Wars. They just care about gossiping and stuff. It's like, never mind. But on different things like the High Republic, it is definitely apparent, and we had seen this with the production of the sequel trilogy, but it's definitely apparent with the comics and novels that they have an audience. They have a very specific audience, to the exclusion of a lot of fans. You're just making fans so abysmally uninterested in Star Wars. You are making Star Wars fans uninterested because you're trying to make people who aren't fans of Star Wars fans. That shouldn't be the case. I would never compose, or I would never want someone who wasn't interested in electronic music to listen to my music. Like, no. You will like my music. You just have to give it a chance. And then if it's people say, no, I just like the garage band, just give me the acoustics. I don't like the electronic stuff. Then I'm not going to force them. If they change their mind down the road, that's cool. But notice that Disney and Lucasfilm, they're really just trying so hard to make everyone a Star Wars fan. And I didn't become a Star Wars fan until probably 23, 24 years old. I just didn't really know about it. I wasn't really interested in it. And then when I watched it, yeah, I was like, I like this. I like this a lot. It just came naturally, organically over time. But it's like Disney and Lucasfilm, they do not know what you know, Wolf 10, and that is Star Wars isn't for everyone. And it's okay. Star Wars doesn't need to be for everyone. Star Trek doesn't need to be for everyone. Doctor Who, I mean, all these franchises. Yeah, distance relationships are difficult, but it's not that bad. It is still driving distance, even though it's quite a long drive. Let's see. Owen Lister says, here's an idea for maybe the next stream. We can have a discussion on where a story can take sex, violence, and any other taboos from being used tastefully to being used exploitive. Well, I mean, let's see. I don't know about other taboos if you wanted to clarify, but for me, I just don't even include it. I mean, to be honest, if I had that content, it's only implied, and it's implied with a married couple. It's just who I am, guys. It's like, no, cause I don't need it. Like that's the thing. Like, I have so much action and psychology in my science fiction that I don't need that extra stuff. I think, was it Neuromancer? That's been one, Snow Crash. It's like it fronts it up. It fronts up the story with this kind of licentiousness. It's like, you make me uninterested in your characters. Now, this is my preference. Some people like it, but it's not to my taste at all. But I actually don't, like, in the event of science fiction or in the setting of science fiction, you don't even need it. You don't even need that stuff, because you have a whole entire world of anything you can imagine that is scientifically probable. It doesn't even have to be possible. It can be probable, scientifically probable. You don't need all the mundane that we see in contemporary television shows. Bob Anderson. Bob Anderson worked on films such as Highlander. Oh, Bob Anderson. Yes. Okay. Yes. The swordsman. Bob Anderson. Thank you. He worked on Highlander, The Princess Bride. I remember him being part of Princess Bride, The Mask of Zorro, The Lord of the Rings. Cool. I thought and Star Wars, didn't he wear the suit? What was that him? If that's him, I'm going to be extra sad that was him, because he looked like such a dear guy. Now, he was elderly when they were shooting Lord of the Rings, so I'm not surprised. But I thought at one point he did wear the suit. Dr. Wyatt on this Wizard of Oz kick. Hypothetical thinking. Who of the Professor Geekverse would be the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Cowardly Lion? I don't know. I think people would have to brainstorm on that. Wolftan's like, that's it. That's one of my mandates. Consistency. Yes, please, just consistency. Thank you, Jedi. You said, why would anyone disagree with you? You make so much sense, because when you are critical of some character like Ahsoka Tano, if you've never seen my Ahsoka Tano video, I mean, it is a long video. It's about 21 minutes long. So it is a full video essay. I am so fair and so kind in my objective critique. I not only tell things, I not only say things like, I love her character design, I liked her before season 5. Not only that, I had a very good alternative idea for her arc concerning Darth Maul, and I wish I could take the credit, but it was actually a brainstorming idea where it was my sister. Sometimes we talk Star Wars. Like, it's kind of funny. My sister's expecting her first child, and we'll still talk about Star Wars. I'll ask how she is for her health, and if she's getting the rest she needs, and then we'll talk about Star Wars. She actually was the one that came up with the idea of Ahsoka Tano working with Darth Maul, because as the Siege of Mandalore wonderfully constructed, Darth Maul was an outcast. He was cast aside by Darth Sidious. Ahsoka Tano was falsely accused and subject to execution on false charges, or not charges, but she didn't do it. She was framed. So she left the Jedi Order, totally reasonable. I would have done the same thing if I were in her shoes. They both have that common ground. Whereas he's dark side, she's light side. And since she's not a Jedi, it would be so well within reason to include temptations of the dark side with her, working with Maul, finding kind of that synthesis between shunning the dark side, using his tactics, and all the while protecting Obi-Wan from Maul. Like, I mean, not maybe not in an actual fight, but like the art of persuasion, like getting Maul's mind off of Obi-Wan and seeking vengeance on Obi-Wan. I had all these ideas, and I put some of those ideas on that video. And oh no, any attack on Ahsoka, they were like, "You're so wrong about everything." And I was like, I thought I was reasonable in my opinions. They don't have to be opinions you like, but I didn't. Well, and some of those comments, and I've left some of those comments up. Some comments were actually just inappropriate. Like, no, you don't call me stupid on my channel. I'm also a professional. It's freedom of expression. I'm like, well, yeah, I have the freedom to silence you if you call me stupid. That was only once or twice. But the comments, it was obvious they weren't listening to me. They just do, and they sent it off, and I was like, you may have watched the whole video, but you certainly didn't listen to me. Owen Lister says, I'm actually one of those people that doesn't care if it's not completely realistic because I recognize it as fiction. But I do have my limits on when they go a little too far. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll give you, I never said this example. I remember talking about The Force Awakens. I think I was doing like the musical analysis of it. Force Awakens, guys. Everyone complains about Last Jedi. Force Awakens. You want to talk about not realistic? I've seen this twice, so I saw it a second time, one in theaters and then one recently for my analysis. J.J. Abrams decides to soak up the energy of the entire sun. That Death planet, or that Death Star planet, soaks up the sun, guys. The sun. Like, it starts shrinking, and then the light goes out. It's like, well, it's Star Wars, it's fantasy. I'm like, in a fantastical world, unless it's totally bizarro land, like it's bizarre. If you establish Star Wars as bizarro, okay, that's fine. But J.J. Abrams flat out, here's the death planet, here's the sun, and you see the sun rays like pulling into the planet. And so the sun is reduced in size until it goes almost full dark before like Kylo Ren and Rey do their battle and stuff like that. But did no one think that was ludicrous? Soaking up the sun? It's a literal vacuum cleaner. The Starkiller base. I thought that was crazy. Yeah, I mean, I'll agree on some level with you, Wolf 10, on representation, but I mean, my beef is with representation is just make new characters, or do characters that have already been made who haven't seen the light of day on the screen. Like, I guess the main example that we use, I've seen thrown around in the Professor Geek community is Monica Rambo. Like, I didn't know about her until people were mentioning it. And I was like, well, that was a missed opportunity. It's like consistency, man. It's like, we're all about representation. It's like, Well, then be good about it. Like, do well. That inconsistency is a problem I have, and then also not doing things well. So if you want to talk about cultural representation, that's all great, but do it, and do it without talking about it, and do it with excellence. And I think people won't have such a hard time with it, like I have. Dr. Y says, how do you outgrow something? I still like a good number of things I grew up with: Power Rangers, Bionicle, Godzilla, etc. I kind of just hope for his own sake that boy that I had that I taught violin, I hope he outgrows Frozen. Frozen, I haven't seen Frozen, so I shouldn't. I can't be totally objective, but it's just about personal empowerment twice, by the way, with the same character. The first movie and the sequel. It's about her knowing, like, oh, I was, because I listened to the songs. I saw the songs with the movie, and what was there's this song in the second movie called "Show Yourself," and it's about Elsa discovering, like, she's pretty much invincible. Like, she's trying to find this. I guess she's curious about this. She gets these premonitions, or not premonitions, but these ideas of her mother or whatever. And then so, like, oh, okay, she's gonna seek out the spirit of her mother, and she sings a song. I thought that was where it was going. But I think in discovering her mother, she's discovering herself. She's actually not really even discovering her mother. She's discovering how awesome she is, which I thought that was the first movie. So I hope my former student outgrows Frozen. That's not good for a child. Frozen is not good for children, guys. Green Line Girl, welcome. Sorry, I got some hair on my face. My main issue with the representation argument is often they defend stories that glorify toxic relationships. And I think Wolf 10 was talking about that. I can't even understand how toxic relationships is a thing of entertainment. I don't like drama in real life, but I certainly wouldn't like dramatized drama. That would just be too much. Horizon Talker. As someone of mixed ethnicity, I have never really felt represented, even by people who are supposed to represent me. I think I just think it's a lost cause. I really think people, I mean, okay. This is probably a bad example, okay? You guys can criticize me. I welcome the criticism. But the first example that came to mind was actually Mulan. Yes, okay, I understand it's not totally culturally depicted. And I'm not talking about the new Mulan either. I'm talking about the Mulan everyone seemed to have a problem with because of the talking dragon. Mulan is my favorite princess. Now, it's a fantasy depiction of an old dynasty. I get that. But it's still, I loved that story. I just loved that story. Even if it's not completely depicted as the ballad would have it. I actually don't know the ballad of that legend. But the story, that I love the story, you know? It's like, she doesn't have to have blue eyes and blonde hair. It's fine. Yeah, Sound Great. I know this is skipping, but I just came across this. Sound Graver said this was going to be a short stream. Ended up longer than intended. Awesome. Well, that's because you guys have been so great. But it has been skipping. The chat has been skipping. So I do apologize if I'm skipping people. It's just been going up and down. Wolfton is really right about this, and only in his response to Green Lion Girl, and only brings up truths about certain groups when it's convenient for them as an argument. The one that are true about groups. What I don't appreciate at all is people trying to look good. I don't appreciate that at all. You know, I'm not going to act any different to anyone who looks different. Like, so if I talk to someone who looks like me, unless it's in a different country with different customs, and maybe something I say as an American or respond as an American is not appropriate in another country, I get that. I accept that kind of culture. But here in America, I'm going to talk to you who looks like me the same way I would talk to someone else if you don't look like me. I'm not gonna be nicer. I'm not gonna be more polite. I'm not gonna be walking on eggshells around people. Just, you know, if you make me upset and I call you out on something, I don't care what you look like. I will be forthright and kind and attentive and cordial as to anyone else. That's what that brought me of. That's what that reminded me of. Wolf Ten's comment, making it look convenient. Like I don't like it when people use other people as a way of making them look good. Like I see these signs in these homes, or these. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right when I see like a nice house and then I see a sign with a strong political sentiment of it when it looks incongruent. Like that house with that sign doesn't look right, guys. Just doesn't look right. But it's like a bit of virtual signaling. Like, oh yeah, I'm really rich, but I'm trying to show I'm okay with all your guys' ideologies. It's like, no. Yes, actually, and Owen Lister tops that. He says, one of the biggest problems with representation in media is that it's surface level and very vain. Thank you for saying vain. I like plenty of fictional characters that aren't like me. Yeah, I said this before. My science fiction, my space opera, has a, I hate to use this phrase, but diverse cast. I have a bit of mark. I have very sensitive skin right now. I think I have like a blister. Something's wrong with my skin. I have to probably should get some medicine or something. But anyway, that distracted me right there. Yeah, it's very vain. My space opera characters, it's a cast of 8, and they look different from one another. But it's because it's how I picture them. It's not because I'm trying to meet a quota, you know, or you know, status quo, whatever. The symbol of status, maybe. Or status symbol. I'm not using that phrase right. Wolf 10 says, if they try to strip you down, I'm most assured you I will sick the wolf on them. And my UN Spacey Wolf fleet, we will not allow harm to come to you. I'm sure your beau agrees. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think he's attacked more than I am. Yeah, but I don't mind people disagreeing with me, and I don't mind people debating me on my own channel. But I just hope they listen to me first before they make their point. You know, that's the thing, is like if I ever make a comment, whether in support or to counter someone on a YouTube channel, I make sure I listen to their point. Now, I don't put them in quotes. I don't put their words in quotes. I think that looks a little insincere, but I make sure I'm listening to their every word so I get that right. So I respect them in their position. Oh yeah, WD-40. I remember that. To your chair if tightening screws don't work. Yeah, I remember that. Thank you. Thank you for the recommendation. Horizon. It's Horizon. I don't know why I'm saying that wrong. Horizon Talker says the Trash Taste podcast is all about having bad taste, to quote a wise man. Before you can have trash taste, first you must have no taste at all. Samuel Proctor says, when George Lucas was filming Star Wars and the people said this is just a silly kids movie, he felt it was an insult to the story. Oh, yeah. And he I think he wrote that story for the demographic at the time, which was 12-year-old boys, at least for marketing toys and stuff like that and imaginations. But kids aren't dumb. I don't like silly humor. I don't like stupid humor or gross humor if that's all there is. That kids, by and large, aren't really entertained by that. I think kids do think, and I think they know what mindless entertainment is too. I just have a funny feeling. But then again, I grew up with things like DuckTales and Rescue Rangers and all that, so I was kind of spoiled. Tailspin. Owen Lister says, I think the prof sometimes feels a little attacked when I give objective critique that animation isn't that great. Not saying the show is bad, just wasn't impressed with the animation. Yeah, as far as He-Man, yeah, he's more for story. So one thing as his core and his impetus is story. For instance, I've said this before. The Last Jedi has objectively amazing sound design. It's great sound design. Story, not so much. See, he overlooked that. He didn't think about sound design. He didn't think about the visuals when it came to the story, because the story, that's when the bottom fell out. That was just a no-go. And I agree. When it comes to storytelling in the form of a movie, especially like Star Wars, yeah, the story comes first, then everything else. Oh yeah. Pong was on Atari. He who tries to appeal to everyone will appeal to no one. That's right. It's good. It's good advice. I'm not sure what you mean by this, Wolf 10. After my gateway from Return of the Jedi, I asked, so when do we get to the walkers? You mean the Skywalkers? Daniel says, I just had a 50-year-old colleague of mine at work tell me he went through and listened to all my DJ sets and thought they were all very good. I was shocked, to say the least. That's awesome. That's good. Yeah, keep it up. I would clearly be one of the flying monkeys. For Wizard of Oz? Yeah. They're scary. Prof would be the Scarecrow. It's different because those characters have very different arcs. They're overcoming what they think they're missing. But then they had it all the time. That's okay, good. I thought that was the case. This is 10:35 and we're at 10:54. I say Filoni should have listened to Lucas. She should have been killed by Vader shortly after Order 66. Yeah, I'm still of the mind. I don't think Ahsoka needed to die. I don't think she needed to die. I mean, if that came to be, then that's fine. But I don't think she ever needed to be killed, because of that awesome departure from the Jedi Temple that happened at the end of season 5. She didn't. The thing is, she should have. Consistency, guys. Don't be inconsistent, especially with your characters. She left the Jedi Order. But have you noticed how much of a Jedi she is in The Mandalorian with her white blades and Rebels? She's like, I'm not a Jedi. It's like, why are you fighting like a Jedi then? Why are you fighting Jedi or Dark Force users? Actually, I tossed this idea to the prof a few weeks ago on the phone, where it's like, maybe Ahsoka renounces the Jedi, but she learns a different thing in the Force that makes her crazy formidable as a character. Like she's above lightsabers, you know. She can control the Force and stuff like that. But it was by the root of walking away from the Jedi, walking away from Anakin. Okay, so she doesn't need to be killed by Darth Vader. She never needed to see Darth Vader. She never needed to see Anakin again. That's what makes it bitter. That's what makes it so bitter. People have a hard time with bitter. They have a hard time with bitterness in stories. They just want to feel good all the time. Like, you know what's bitter? Okay, in the Kenobi book, the dewback snit, man. I was kind of hoping that Obi-Wan would revive him and then lift him up out of the Sarlacc pit. But I think he got eaten. I don't like that. But that's life, okay? So, in the same way, Ahsoka, she didn't need to die. And I think she could have used the Force in a different way. But not like the fighting style of a Jedi. And certainly not with lightsabers. It's like, I'm no Jedi. It's like, you've got the Jedi's weapon, man. You could have had something else. Like, Filoni could have been creative and thought of something else. Okay, if he didn't want to kill her, that's one thing. But keep her away from Anakin. Keep her away from the Jedi. Keep her away from... I have so many things to talk about on the Siege of Mandalore. Keep her away from all of that. And keep her away from the Clone Wars. If she was away from the Clone Wars, she probably likely would not have been involved in the Order 66 at all. That is the one thing I just couldn't stand about the Siege of Mandalore, how so involved she was in Order 66. It was just, there's so much. There's so much. I wish I could do like a screen share of all my notes. I've got a lot of notes. But anyway, yeah, on the one hand, she could have died. I don't think that would have been as potent a loss to Anakin. I know it's talking about death, but I don't think that would have been as impactful to Anakin as her leaving the Jedi Order, and how that really breaks down that ideal or that idea he has of the Jedi. So her leaving was fine, but it's like, I'm no Jedi. And it's like, then why do you look like a Jedi? Just be consistent, guys. Just be consistent with your plots and your characters. Oh, cool. Okay, so Big Al sent a link about Bob Anderson. That's cool. Thank you. Thank you, Big Al. I hope that link works. Mahler has, is that how you say it, his name? I mean, that's the composer's name, the German composer. Has a few 3-hour critiques of both The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. They're great if crude. Well, what about The Rise of Skywalker? Rise of Skywalker was a mess. By the way, guys, J.J. Abrams does not get a pass. I like, Rian Johnson gets so heavily criticized, and it is warranted, although I think anyone should be very polite and respectful in their criticism and have decorum. But it's like, oh, what would have been like if JJ had the middle arc? The only thing I could think of it being different is that he yeah, internet is finicky. Can you hear me, guys? All right. So my internet has been dropping out a few times tonight, so just be patient. I'll come back. It's usually just spotty. Anyway, where were we? I see it's always when I'm criticizing something. It's nothing to do with our beloved platform iPipe. You guys remind me of my most hated straw man argument. It's a movie about space wizards with laser swords in response to anything that doesn't fit established setting. Absolutely. I on this stream, I had this huge critique of what they did in Rise of Skywalker, how they made Star Wars completely metaphysical. Now Rian Johnson did start it when they're having that debate or that back and forth, Kylo Ren and Rey, and she's next to an ocean or a sea, and the water splashes on her, and then it splashes onto his face, and then you could see that matter has been transported through the Force. Well, that hadn't been no big deal. It's like, okay, there's water on my hand. Wow. We hadn't seen that with the Force before. And then in The Rise of Skywalker, rather than JJ just ignoring that even happened, he goes full blown and say, let's have a lightsaber fight where two people are completely in completely different environments. That wasn't established before. No, you don't get a pass just because it's space fantasy. If that has not been established in the Force or the world of the Force, that's just terrible writing, and you can be objective about that. Dr. Y says, the whole concept of Starkiller Base is ridiculous. Why would an Imperial Remnant be build a supersized version of something that failed twice? That failed twice. See, these are questions that should have been in the writing committee. Like, what were they thinking? I wonder if these questions, these suggestions were put out there. Yeah. The Death Star just didn't work. You had to find something else. Samuel says, you're not missing anything by not watching Frozen. You did a stream about that, about Frozen? Or toxic relationships? I know it's toxic relationships, but yeah. I think the excuse, toxic relationships. I think the excuse for toxic relationships in modern stories is similar to turning aspirational heroes into, I think that meant to say cathartic. Cathartic, it's more realistic, man. Yeah. I just kind of had this weird comparison. You know, the one complaint against Christianity I have not heard is Jesus is too perfect. He's too holy. He needs to be more relatable like us. Although a lot of Christians are pushing for like, yeah, he's your friend. He's okay with your sin. Not to that extent, but oh gosh, I'm so tired of people saying, oh, come as you are and stay as you are in the Christian faith. And it's Christians doing this to themselves. It's not any of the world doing this. But yeah, I mean, even if you're an unbeliever, I have not heard people complain about how holy God is. You know, it's like, so that's the ideal, right? Or that's the perfection of it. Why I say that is, would we worship a God who was not holy or not perfect? I don't think I would. And I certainly wouldn't worship a deconstructed God. See, that's the thing. It's like aspirational characters are just so unrelatable. They're inspiring. The Prof and I are going through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Coulson's awesome. I want to be like Coulson. He's so cool. And it would take a lot of work for me to become a person of character like him. But he's really cool. Do I relate to him, or is he relatable? I mean, he's funny, he's quirky, he's got like a quirky, nerdy vibe about him. But like I'm very different from him, you know, as a human being. So it doesn't need to be more realistic. Not in every case. Not in every case. Welcome, longest running superhero RPG on Earth. I gotta check out your channel. That's a great avatar. That's really cool looking. Gotta love the red and blue and the yellow utility belt. That's awesome. That's a good outfit. That's a good superhero outfit. Is it a character you made, or is it a character I should know that I don't? I've been you say I've been struggling with that a little recently. I don't know the context because it's kind of into the stream, kind of buried into the stream. Let's see, it's 11, a little past 11. We're still under the 2-hour mark, but I'll catch up with chat, and then maybe definitely by 11:30 I'll wrap it up. Samuel Proctor says the entire Flash Gordon serial is on YouTube. I just watched it and understand why George Lucas loved it so much. It's plain fun. Yeah, you need fun. You need fun. I have a lot of deep things that happen in my space opera, but ultimately, especially in the beginning, I mean, yeah, it is serious. It is a very serious piece of work, but it's action packed and adventurous. It's adventurous. It's supposed to have that fun adventure style. Darkwing Duck, let's get dangerous. That was the one show I didn't really watch. But I know the theme. Wolf10 says, after seeing Return of the Jedi, I wanted to see more Star Wars. I was wondering when do the walkers come in, at not knowing at all, not knowing it was a trilogy at the time. Oh, I got it. I see. Interesting. Professor Geek says, I'd be Scarecrow. Fan Man would be Tin Man because he has no heart. I can see a lion character for Al. Oh, and I get to be Dorothy because you'd be adorable in pigtails. I don't know. But oh yeah, she does. Yeah, Judy Garland is wearing pigtails. I don't have the hair for pigtails. Like this is almost all my hair. That's how thin it is. Let's see. Let's try. So just pretend. Just pretend I have pigtails. See, look how thin that is. I'd have to wear a wig. Glinda's a good choice for Nanette. I would imagine that. I can see Troy as the wizard. Who's Toto? No one has animals. I just realized the prof doesn't have an animal. Big Al, you don't have a pet, do you? And the Pichellis don't have. Oh, Fan Man has a. What does he have? Doesn't he have a couple dogs and a couple cats? And then also Kathleen Kennedy is the Wicked Witch. And your little dog, too. And your little Skywalker, too. We don't need Luke. Sean Barnes, welcome. Ben Burtt is definitely one of the greatest movie sound designers of all time, in my opinion. The sounds he created are so iconic, like the lightsaber and R2D2. I can make R2D2 sounds. It's really easy. It's simply sine tones. He's sine tones and frequency modulation. I mean, it's not that easy to do his design, but yeah, it's basic sound synthesis for R2D2. Owen Lister said, what weapon would you give Ahsoka if not a lightsaber? Well, I mean, like, if you want to make her really cool, because that's what they were trying to do, she doesn't need a weapon, you know? So I mean, I won't belabor the point, but okay, she's not a Jedi. So make her very different, like different from even any weapon wielding opponent or combatant. I can imagine her just using the Force. There was that one time, I mean, there's that one arc where she's on that island getting hunted by those I forgot the alien race that hunts the younglings for sport. And she took down the boss. She didn't have her lightsaber. And she one of my favorite moves I've seen in the Clone Wars with the Jedi is, you've got the arm, the armed man or soldier taking an aim at you, and then what do? You use the Force and thrust their arm so they misdirect and misfire, or not misfire, but they aim somewhere else while they're firing. That's a really cool move. That's something to her character. She had to really use her wits without the lightsaber. Anakin had the same ordeal one time, but he's a Jedi. So what I would do, I mean, there was one time in the Rebels where she totally just sucks the energy of the Inquisitor's blade. So she could do that. She doesn't even need lightsabers. But no, it looks cool. We have to make her look cool with a lightsaber. See, that's the thing. That's vanity. That's vanity. When you compromise a character for doing something so compelling, but compromise that for something else because that looks cooler, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Yeah, staff is my weapon of choice. I definitely would use a staff. Wolf 10 says JJ will never get my pass. But the chat jumped again. Chat, stop jumping. Daniel Craig says it takes Mahler so long to criticize those films. They're usually a year or two after the film was released. I can understand that if the critique is as long as a film, I can understand that. Owen Lister says, my pastor saw Force Awakens and told it was better than Last Jedi, but still not very good. Good. Your pastor has good taste. Or he has discernment. Yeah, I can't stand when things stutter and then, like, when a person's blinking and it's in the middle of a blink, and so you kind of look like you're on something. Oh, that's funny. And here you were saying you didn't like Frozen. Frozen screen, get it? That's funny. I'm glad you pointed that out. My pastor saw Rise of Skywalker and told it was better than Last Jedi, which isn't a huge feat, but it definitely had its fair share of flaws. It was all over the map. It was trying to be two movies in one. And the problem, and they base it on this conflict. Okay, this is what grinds my gears. The conflict of the Rise of Skywalker was, is Rey going to choose to be the dark side user? We all knew she wasn't going to be. Okay, so no conflict. I'm not concerned at all. Like, she's so nervous she's going to be a dark side user. I'm like, you're not going to be. Don't worry. I had someone tell me the original Thundercats took itself too seriously when defending the Thundercats roar. Oh my gosh. Oh man. What? I'm sorry, and I put this on the description. We got to defend masterpieces. What's wrong with taking yourself too seriously, or what's wrong with taking your art too seriously? It's not a joke. It's not like Tolkien, wrote his anthologies and his stories and like, this is just gonna be a joke. This is just gonna be for the hay of it, and I don't care about my stories. It's like we. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why taking something too seriously is a bad thing or something to be mocked at. I'll tell you what, the animation of the original Thundercats is so nice to look at, first of all. And Thundercats roar, I get sick to my stomach when I see animation like that. It's so ugly. And there's no emotive expression besides ridiculousness. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like the bee bubble shape and like the hands that, like, the fingers are like this, and and the body is just like a square, if not rotund at the same time. It's just, there's people just have a blatant disregard, and really just it's an attack on aesthetics. People like to attack aesthetics. We like seeing the masculine, we like seeing the feminine. Now, I don't say that to hypersexualize anything. We should not ever hypersexualize any of the masculine or feminine forms. But when you have a male character, and this is out of Cal Arts, right? Cal Arts, when I checked like 8 years ago or 9 years ago, it was like $96,000 tuition. That's what comes out of Cal Arts. Thundercats roar, man. So when you see a male figure, supposedly male, and he's like a square but slightly rounded, do you want to hug that? No. I mean, I don't. I could be an anomaly. Ooh, getting tired. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to yawn there. Jedi Masters Utopia says, my favorite straw man argument is when I would say to my brother who hated tomatoes, Jesus made tomatoes and he loves them. Why do you? Oh, gosh. I would never use that argument. I have said, the prof has accused onions of being vile weeds, and I said God made onions for your bloodstream, for your skin. See, even an atheist can respect it. I better not mess with Jesus. Jesus did nothing wrong. That's right. Yes. You hear that, chat? Yes. Actually, I don't. Well, yes to what? What is this? This is 11:05 and it's 11:18. I'm behind chat. Congrats. On what? That's the problem with getting caught up on chat, because I don't know what you guys are talking about. Dr. Weiss says, in my humble opinion, the best thing about the sequel tragedy is the designs. The problem I have with it is 90% copy paste the original trilogy. That's what that's what gets me is Last Jedi was pretty much bizarro, just a little bit like it's just everything you think of with Star Wars. It was just a slap in the face of Star Wars. I'm like, okay, if that's the case, then the whole sequel trilogy should have been that. Like what you think, no, it's not. So therefore we have that expectations. But the problem is it wasn't even original. These people they retold the same story, but substantially worse, much worse. So there's artists for you there. Thank you. I played the character in the 90s, and now my son is taking up the mantle. Cool. All right. I remember SWAT Cats, Green Land Girl. Yeah, SWAT Cats. Oh, yeah, I remember SWAT. In fact, actually, I think I saw SWAT Cats more than Thundercats. I remember liking the look of that world. Oh, jumped again. Why does it do that? I'm almost done, though. Santa Graver says, I have a cat named Mungo. That's a cool name. I had a cat named Moglet, but that was like 25 years ago. Where do I fit in the Wizard of Oz area? I don't know all the characters. Like, besides, like, the Munchkins. I mean, besides the actual quartet or the group of four plus Toto, I don't know. Uh, Wolf 10 says, Prof is an eagle, which eagles are great. They're one of my favorite animals. Sound is dove. Owl is bear. Troy is lion. And Nanette is lioness. And Fan Man's elk. Where did you come up with these animals? Fan Man and elk? We were playing Donkey Kong 2 last weekend, and we're trying to think of if Al or Fan Man were the bad guys, who would they be? Because there are animal buddies, and then there are animal antagonists, and there's this one piranha enemy. I was like, yeah, that's Fan Man. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm yawning in front of. Maybe it's my dinner. I don't know. I don't think I've ever yawned in front of you guys. I have no idea what you guys are talking about now. Green Lion Girl says, staff, I guess that means you're Eris from the Final Fantasy VII remake. I love stabs as weapons. I'm going to start my live stream for that game next week. That's cool. I'd like to see the difference, because I know there was a big difference of the story, but I like the look of it. And I like the look of the role playing in it. That, in a very elegant animation, the enemies are really moving and attacking you, and you have to kind of go around them, and it's good. Do I have a favorite Final Fantasy VII character? Yeah. I like Eris, but as far as Tifa's story and arc is pretty interesting. But I never played Final Fantasy. We're doing that with the retro box, that is for sure. Oh, really? I thought it was CalArts. Oh, the CalArts style. That's what I heard. Is it really a straw man argument? Oh, that's too bad. Well, what's his name? Where did he go to school? He must have gone to some yuppie school. Because I wouldn't be surprised if it had that look. That's interesting. I don't think I must have confused that, because I have never heard of I've never heard of that phrase, CalArts style. So maybe in my mind I disregarded that. I kind of just chucked it, but I kept CalArts, and then I saw that guy, the animator or the producer. It's like he went to CalArts. That's what it was. Interesting. Easy on the onion talk, sound giver, or you'll lose your Coulson as cool points. He's Coulson. Onions are great, man. They keep this face aglow. Oh, silly chat. Samuel Proctor says, go watch Waking Sleeping Beauty. It shows what caliber of animators CalArts used to breed. Glenn Keane, Aaron Blaze, and the Bancroft brothers. Okay. Huh. I wonder where that phrase then came from. What you talking about, Prof? Coulson is always cool. He's so cool. He's just got that like smirk. And he does all that action in that suit and in those shoes. They could have had great Star Wars if they made Finn a main character from Stormtrooper to Jedi Master. How awesome. That's such a cool concept. Such a cool concept. It would have been very interesting for a main character, to have post-traumatic stress as a Stormtrooper. But see, they can't make, in their mind, in their eyes, they probably couldn't make Star Wars that serious, but I think it could be serious. I think you could have a very serious main character and then have some banter back and forth, and some comedy and some comic relief. But I think it could have been they just didn't treat it seriously. Yeah, Finn was he was a punching bag. Observation: when I be around people too long, I assign spirit animals based on how long I've known them. And January is a drainer month. Oh, okay. Well, then elk is quite flattering for a for fan man. I think I've said this on stream before. I'm not that I believe I have a spirit animal, but if I did, I think it would be a hawk because I think I've said this before, but I have hawks that kind of follow me. Like I'll walk around or I'll drive and a hawk will swoop over my windshield and then perch on a stop sign, and then it will glide down the hill I'm driving down. I've had hawks just like kind of look at me. So I'm like, are you trying to talk to me? And it'd be cool if I could so if you could morph into an animal, I would love to morph into a hawk. I think that'd be really cool. Or dove works. I like doves. See, I love birds. Birds are my favorite animals, so I would not mind being an animal if I could change, if I could transform into a bird. Well, yeah, actually, with Aerith, okay, so why I like Aerith is her design and her name. I love the name Aerith. I think it's a really pretty name. Is it Tifa? That's not a really attractive name for a girl to me. I don't care for it at all. She's cool. I like her character, but Tifa's such a. It's just not to me. It's just not an attractive name. But Aerith is a very attractive name, or Aerith. Green Line Girl says, I'm playing the Midgar segment of the original FS Final Fantasy on Fridays at 6 p.m. starting this week. I want to do comparison. That's cool. That's cool. I teach. I don't get home until 8 on Fridays. So fortunately I'll miss that. But that's a good idea. Comparing the two, that's a very, very good idea. Dr. Y says, Cal art style was first used as a derogatory made towards Disney by the creator of... Wow. Made toward Disney by the creator of Ren and Stimpy. Huh. There's so much I don't know. Prof says, that's my girl. I can't remember what I said to get that, but... let's see. Yeah. Okay, so Marvel did it right. Well, actually, which movie you're referring to? I've only the one I've seen him so far. We're going through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., then we're gonna go back to the film. So I haven't seen anything after the first Avengers with Captain America. So I haven't seen his other stuff. Chat is so silly; it just keeps jumping. And now everyone's asking Wolf 10 what their spirit animal is. Yeah, but Dr. Y just assumes one. I assign myself as a lion, namely due to my namesake. Oh, yeah, that's good. Sorry. Is your first name Judah? That'd be cool. No, Daniel. It's Daniel. I remember that. Wolf 10 says, I had a wolf once legit approach me. That's pretty cool and scary. I hope he left you alone. Wolves, they were my favorite animals when I was a kid, for sure. I really did like wolves. It just kind of morphed into birds as I grew up. All right. Laura Day in the house. Mine's a seagull. Seagulls are cool. Nice. I like seagulls. Okay. And then according to Horizon, his spirit animal is the rat. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And it's written well. Yeah. It is 11:30, guys. Why don't I kind of take a? I think I'll wrap it up now. So anyway, that was a nice long string. I was kind of it was kind of a short topic, and then we were just talking and chatting, and that's the most important thing. But anyway, let's go ahead and do the what's on the dock. So tomorrow we've got Wolf Command Rambles at 2:30 Eastern Time, I believe. Go ahead and say time and topic Wolf 10. Also Catholic Bible Geek for our new study, a new book, Prince Caspian, at 9, I believe it's 9. Yes. 9 Eastern Time. So Professor Geek time, standard time. We're going through the first 5 chapters of Prince Caspian. Wednesday, of course, we have Green Lion Girl with her gaming streams. Actually, Green Lion Girl, do clarify the time. I never remember what your time is. I feel like it's 8 or 8:30. Melissa Harris, good to see you. No worries. Sleeping's good. I was yawning like toward the last few minutes of the stream. So we've got Green Lion Girl with her gaming streams on Wednesday nights, and also Soundtracks with Birdman. He has a nice looking thumbnail on this one. I think it's Gladiator with him and Aged Boomer. And Aged Boomer, if there's any guests to mention, just let me know if you're still around. Also, 9 p.m. for Green Lion Girl. Good, very good. That'll be fun. Wednesdays, unfortunately, are my recording my other YouTube videos night, so I'm very busy on Wednesday nights, unfortunately. But I know you guys are doing really great with those streams. Wednesday, Second Cup Cafe in the morning. So Fanman is doing Wednesdays and Fridays now, his Second Cup Cafe, so that'll be nice. I think around 11 Eastern Time, getting into the noon time toward the end of his streams. He's got a great podcast format, a new podcast format, so be on the lookout for his live chat streams of Second Cup Cafe Wednesdays and Fridays, give or take 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We've also got Professor Geek with his, what does he do? Kenobi book study, which I'm reading Kenobi, but I'm so far behind. I think I'm 10. I think I'm 12 chapters behind. So I'm going at my own pace. So I'm going to just let his stream run while I do something else because I don't want it spoiled for me. Very much enjoying it. Wolf Command Rambles also Thursdays at 2:30 Eastern Time. And then we've got Friday nights. Just kind of be on the lookout. We don't know what Van Man's up to, but I just feel like something else is happening. I think Troy might be doing something this Friday. Oh, you know what? I think I saw something on my feed. He has a discussion on the DC universe. I think that's coming up on his channel. I think Friday. I can check, but if Netter's in the house, she can clarify for me. And then also rewatches. Tell me the rewatch, guys. Who's doing the rewatch? I'm sure it's on my feed. In fact, if I go on my feed, let's see. Battle Beyond the Stars. It looks like Big Al presents. 10 p.m. So that it looks like an 80s sci-fi. That's good. That's good. So be on the lookout for his channel and his rewatch. So that's good. And then we've got study hall per se, but they're changing it up to something else. If you guys have any names, just put it on the Facebook group page, or no, actually better yet, put it on Aged Boomer's comment section of the last stream, because they're trying to think of what did I have? I had what name did I have? Gatekeeper geeks or geek gatekeepers. I know that has a kind of a bad connotation now, like, you know, we're the gatekeepers, but geek guardians, I don't know. Stewards of the geek. In the house in the House of Geek. I don't know. I'll think of something if I find something that sticks. I'll write it in the comment section. Alrighty, so we've got lots of good things. Looks like everyone's posting that, as well as other things. But I'm actually getting, my voice is kind of going, and I'm very geek keepers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Keepers. Yeah, stewards. I think stewards. Vizier. You know, some noble kind of older position. So geek keepers. That's hard to say though. Geek keepers. Geek keepers. Yeah, that is hard to say. Bookkeepings. Yeah. So anyway, I think I'll wrap it up there. So I have some sound experimentations, more work in progress this Thursday. Hopefully a video game assessment on Donkey Kong. The first 3 soundtracks, I think. The first 3 stages, I believe. And if it's not too long, on Saturday. And more live commentary, of course, every Monday night. So until I see you next, keep producing the art you love, and I will catch you later.